since rapport is so important, like the second that you damage that as an athletic trainer, you have a very steep uphill battle.
And like being able to have the trust, especially with Ariel, of like doing different recovery techniques, and like maybe some don't work, and being able to have that conversation of like, okay, this didn't really do much, let's try this. And like having someone that is so knowledgeable and someone that also that you can trust, like with that care, I think is extremely important.
Hi everyone, welcome to Tao Talk, and today we have a really exciting episode for you guys. So I'm going to start off by introducing someone that we have and a couple of special guests that we have today. First, I want to introduce Ariel, one of the athletic trainers that works at Limitless Sports Medicine, and she has a few folks that she wants to also introduce.
All right, so
my name's Charitie Luper, outside hitter.
My name is Jardine. I'm an opposite.
Mary Shroll. I'm a libero.
Camryn Hannah. I'm also an opposite.
My name is Berkeley Oblad. I'm a middle blocker.
Carly Graham, and I'm a setter.
That was like ASMR or something.
Yeah.
these are a few of my athletes that I take care of on a every single day basis.
Today, with it being Athletic Training Appreciation Month, and then also it was International Women's Appreciation Day this past weekend, we thought it would be a great way to talk about how athletic trainers work with PTs, as well as how athletic trainers work with athletes, and especially our women's athletes. And so let's go ahead and get started by just asking you guys really quick, how do you like working with an athletic trainer? Is it something that you're really excited about? Is it something that's been like is it something that you were like fearful of the first time you went to see an athletic trainer? How has that experience been like for you guys?
I would not be able to function as an athlete without an athletic trainer. Period.
I don't know what I would do without an athletic trainer. I would be clueless. I'd be hurting 24/7. I honestly wouldn't feel comfortable without an athletic trainer. I'm just so lucky to have one.
In past experiences I've had with athletic trainers, I can tell you that having a good one is really important, especially being able to have a relationship with one. Coming in every day to practice and not knowing how your body's going to feel, and being able to have someone that's consistently there before, during, and after practice, willing to help you at all times is just really beneficial for recovery and working. I think that keyword is really important at all times. She's literally available at all times, and for more than just what her job description probably requires. Even like personally, I feel like I'm going through a lot right now outside of volleyball, and she sits there and listens after hours and just is there to talk through things. And that's not part of her job description to help physically, but it makes a world of difference to have someone that, is there and cares for you and wants to know about your well-being. That you do get to see every day and have that relationship with. And it's not just some random person that comes in different days. And yeah.
And then what are some things that you like about being an athletic trainer? What's your favorite part about it, I guess?
Mine is the relationship with athletes. So for me, it's really important to build rapport, especially early on. And then a lot of the times I am watching them every day at practice and stuff like that, and I can see something that's bothering them before they even come off the court. And that's super, that allows me to get like a head start on their treatment plan before they even say anything to me, right? It's like, I watch one of them go, yeah, and I'm like, I guess I clocked that. So it's helpful. I like doing that and like getting to know my athletes on like a personal basis. And then it's just, I think it's, especially in sports, it's so important to have that whole person care. So the psychological side of things, like being there for the athletes in a way that other healthcare providers don't get to. I think that's a really big niche. And then I also think, one of my other favorite things is that athletic trainers kind of have their hands in all things healthcare. So we're kind of like the central hub for these athletes. So if someone needs to go to surgery, MPT, and all pre-op stuff, right? It's like I have my hands in all of that, and I'm able to help them through every step of that process and make sure that it's done correctly the first time, and then help expedite that process. And then it's about like the connections that we have, around the city and stuff like that too. It's just, I like the rapport that comes with being an AT. And especially in this setting, I think we've been able to do a lot, even in the short period that we've known each other. Like, yeah.
I'm gonna jump in again. Sorry, I'm gonna have a lot to say, but like I've been dealing with an injury that has been reoccurring for like 5 or 6 years, and Ariel has like helped solve this problem, and like because she is aware and like sat down and listened to what I've been going through for the past, and like it's been a buildup of like trying to solve this problem, but like she sat there and watched through practices and saw mechanical things that needed to be fixed and that were like probably causing these problems, and then worked with me instead of plan with that, and it hasn't come back since, which is feels like a miracle because it's been something I've been dealing with reoccurring through seasons for the past 5 years. So dealing with other athletic trainers in the past and not knowing what the cusp of what I could talk about was really hard for me coming from college and being able to talk about anything and everything, like the cracks, the pops, just the tight muscles, and being able to come in and do whatever I needed to do to be ready for practice because I know that she knows what she's doing has been really helpful, knowing that like, okay, if it hurts that I can go and talk about it, and it's not the end of the world. It's not you're out of practice. It's not you're done. It's just you work through it and then you do preventative care and recovery after that.
I will also say it's important to have someone that you're comfortable with, because there are things that as an athlete you want to just fight through and you want to say I'm tough enough to get through this, but at the same time, like if I'm comfortable with my athletic trainer, then I can go up to her and be like, hey, this is kind of bothering me and I don't want it to be a big thing, but I just want to check on it. And like that's important to have that relationship, because then you can get to something right away or say, hey, maybe it's something you don't have to worry about right now, but they know a lot more than, okay, maybe I'm hurting right now, but I don't really know what the root cause of it is.
I guess that's a good point too. Like that's one of my another favorite thing about athletic training. I love it. I love my job. It's just like the challenges that come with it. So it's more of like when they're coming to me with an issue and it's not well, we're done and we need to do X, Y, Z, right? It's more of like, how do I keep them functional and like keep them active and keep them on a professional level without injuring them more? How do I keep them playing their best, but even when they don't feel their best, right? Like that's a huge part of it, and that's a fun challenge to tackle. Like
yeah. As far as like injuries, so I'm assuming that y'all have experienced having an injury before, and just being at the professional level, dealing with an injury, trying to recover from one. Can you just touch on some of the, I guess, the stressors that come along with that? So sometimes I talk to folks and they're always afraid, like, am I going to be able to play at the same level I was playing before? Am I going to have to sit out for a long time? Am I dealing with a lot of pain, like the amount of stress that it puts you through? Do y'all mind touching on that a little bit for the audience, just so then people kind of know like there's more factors involved? It's not just, okay, my ankle's sprained and it's swollen and I got to sit out. There's definitely, I think, more layers to it, you know?
I kind of have a different perspective. I've never had a serious injury because of the fact that I've always had an athletic trainer that's there, and I can go to them early and say, hey, this is kind of hurting me and I want to get ahead of it before it becomes something bigger. And then, like Ariel said, they can keep you functional while you're still working through this issue on your off time. And I think that's really important to have.
Yeah, mine is not necessarily an injury, but I have a chronic illness, type 1 diabetes. And so I was diagnosed in college. And during that time of like managing, like my communication with my athletic trainer was like very extreme. I have a sensor that connects to my phone, connected to his phone. Ariel now has that torch. It connects to her phone. And so just like, that back in college, you question like, oh my gosh, like there's all these different scenarios and things that can impact my management. And so like figuring out all those things and then going to the professional level, I think just it's our job. So it's like, it's encompasses your whole day and your life. And so there's like a whole new wave and set of challenges. And so that communication with athletic training is super, super important for like that daily management when your whole day is pretty active and very involved in your sport. And so I think that relationship part is really huge with that. And then just, everything you have to do, like all of us have a full-time job of like caring for ourselves. And so I think that communication goes hand in hand with athletic training as well.
I think even physical injuries, when you get injured, it's not just about the physical part, it's about the mental part and the emotional part that you feel with that. And going through a physical injury and not being able to have somebody to talk about it with, or to figure out what the best like range of motion is and what the best PT is, and being able to talk about how you're feeling about those. What if I'm not gonna be able to play anymore? What if I'm not able to play at the same level, or if I can't even walk anymore? Like, those things are really important to have somebody there to talk about. And especially with somebody who's with you through the whole process, like having an athletic trainer there from day one, even before you got injured, to help you getting back to that point is so important, because otherwise you're dealing with it alone, and no athlete wants to deal with that.
I want to touch a little bit more on what Carly said, because we're kind of in the same boat a little bit. I think it's very important to have an athletic trainer who like hears you and just, like listens to your body with you. Because like I feel like a regular coach will kind of just, brush things off and be like, no, you're fine, ice it or whatever. And in the past, I had an athletic trainer and I told them that, I was breathing really heavily, that my heart rate was super fast. And like she heard me, she understood me, like she didn't brush it off. She's like, okay. Like we went to the doctor, we figured it out, and I figured I had blood clots in my lungs. So I have to play on blood thinners. And Ariel knows that. And, if anything like happens, like if I get hit in the head, like with the ball, like she comes straight to me, she talks to me, make sure I'm okay. Cause that's like dangerous to, get hit anywhere while playing on blood thinners. So just having someone, an athletic trainer specifically, who listens to your body, who doesn't brush anything off, it's something that's super important.
And I think too, like, this is some stuff that we prep on the back end that I don't even think we've discussed, but it's like now having her on board, the things that I'm prepping for, it's like I have extra blood clotting things. I have, everything that travels with me in my kit and in my backpack when we're on a plane, when we're on a bus. I'm prepared to help her with any situation, like, my God. So I think like that's another like kind of interesting part too, and like being there for the athletes and being prepared for them. Like I think it's vital, honestly. Yeah. Like, and I am with them 24/7. Anytime that the team is together, I'm with them.
And so what would you say are, were you?
Yeah, I was just going to say Charitie touched on a good point that like an athletic trainer is also a liaison between your coaches. Like when you get injured, like you can't always go up to your coach and be like, hey, I'm not going to practice. They're going to be like, why? Like there's a medical person that can explain why you shouldn't practice and why your load should be managed. Like that's a different conversation that sometimes you just can't have as an athlete.
And she's also the liaison between you and like a team doctor. So like if you have certain needs that you need, she's the one that determines whether or not it's okay to settle with an AT or if you have to go to a team doc for that. So it's instead of going straight to, DEFCON 5, we have a kind of a base to talk about rather than going straight to the extremes.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like, I feel like a lot of the times I get like, I feel like the doctor didn't explain this well enough, or like, can we like ask them again on something, right? And it's like, I can work them through a little bit of that process, and then it's more of like, okay, then I'm going back to the doctor, and instead of like athlete talk, like they didn't do a good job kind of thing sometimes, it's like, well, let's give them a chance, like let's, you know what I mean? Like, and not with this group necessarily, but just in past experiences. And it's more of like, it's almost like translating a language sometimes, like back and forth. Like it's fun.
What would you say, I guess, are some of the major challenges of being an athletic trainer, just for folks that are listening and maybe they're interested in being an athletic trainer one day? And what would you, I guess, give that person as a little nugget of advice? And then also what you feel is the most challenging thing about your job?
That's a great question. I think it comes with a lot of challenges. I think the biggest one off the top of my head is, since rapport is so important, like the second that you damage that as an athletic trainer, you have a very steep uphill battle. Like, so, and that whether that be with your patients, with your coaches, with your docs, right? Like it's kind of hard once you lose that rapport. So that's something like we always try to, I think it's important to come with like your best foot forward all the time and like be professional all the time. And sometimes that gets really hard to manage. Like sometimes it gets really hard. And I mean, these girls have supported me just as much as I've supported them. Like, and I think the other challenge that is a little bit more generic, but just the lack of knowledge of what an athletic trainer is and like our background and our education, and how we are kind of like jacks of all trades but master of none kind of thing. But sometimes people still just see us as like a personal trainer, or I get that all the time, especially when they're seeing me critique like Berkeley was saying, like just mechanical things, right? They'll see me start doing mechanical things and they're like, oh, well, you're the personal trainer. I was like, definitely not. Like, and so those are two of, I think, the biggest challenges for me. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that sometimes for PT as well, there's like this kind of, it's hard for people to really understand like what a PT does.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, oh, you're the person that does the massaging. And I'm like,
Definitely not.
No, not really. They're like, oh, you're the one that does the needles. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, sometimes like
Mm-hmm.
you're the one that is here to make me hurt more. And I'm like, no,
mean,
that's not the goal.
When you put it that way.
That's not the goal. I'm not here to make you hurt more. And then other folks are like, well, you helped my grandmother walking. Like, how are you going to help me with like getting back to sport?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there's always kind of that, I think, education component. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with PTs and same thing with ATC, it's like there's so many things that we encompass that it can be difficult for people to really know, like, okay, which one am I going to get? Which athletic trainer is coming through the door? Which PT is coming through the door? Are they the right fit for me?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like y'all have a really good relationship going on. Everyone has said rapport at one point. And so that's a really good thing. So I think that I agree with you by, you know, giving that nugget to folks out there. It's like really try to build rapport with patients, with athletes. Same thing for PTs, I think, too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they teach it enough even in school. I think that's something that you just have it. You know, some people are really good at talking to others. Some people are a little bit more on the timid side, but the rapport is definitely super important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, we've all kind of touched on it, but like the trust that we have, like with you, like so much of what we do, recovery, like is so important for it. And like being able to have the trust, especially with Ariel, of like doing different recovery techniques and like maybe some don't work, and being able to have that conversation of like, okay, this didn't really do much, let's try this. And like having someone that is so knowledgeable and someone that also that you can trust, like with that care, I think is extremely important, just with what we do every day and this being our job and just the physical aspect and all that. So
I overheard y'all chatting a little bit
Oh,
earlier.
no.
And there are some topics that you brought up that I was like very curious to know about too. And so I think it would be, unless there's anything else that y'all wanted to say that you feel like you didn't get to say yet. And at any point, y'all can just say whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to touch on the fact that we're super lucky here. Like, I've gotten to go play overseas, and the support is not the same. We do not have athletic trainers that are at the same level, same capacity, that take care of you. I was on 3 teams overseas. 2 of them had athletic trainers. One of them was a professional athletic trainer. One was a student, and the other team did not have an athletic trainer. And it was tough to just be like, when I was hurting, I didn't know how it was going to get better. And that even just like the language barrier. So it's a big deal to have that support because it's not there in all aspects.
Yeah.
Random question for you on that. Like, did you notice a change in like the performance or like success of the team that had an athletic trainer versus not?
We had, I know, I've never really like considered it.
Mm.
So, like Hungary was crazy because we worked out, like it was probably the best shape I've ever been in my life, but I thought I was going to die. I was exhausted and like hurting in every aspect. And then like in Taiwan, I actually retired after Taiwan because my back was in such bad shape and they weren't helping. And like, I thought I was done playing because I just couldn't do anything but lay flat without being in pain. And so then I came home and coached, and then this opportunity came about. So like, that the lack of experience and knowledge there led to me being done playing for
Thinking
a minute.
that you were going to quit. Okay.
I also think there's a very big gap between college and professional, obviously. But I think some athletes in college don't have that relationship with their AT, and they don't know themselves, or they don't know how to listen to their body because of the relationship they have with their AT. And so I think like that knowledge throughout, I don't know, AT school, of like being able to have that kind of relationship and communication, not only with your athletes, but being able to fight for your athlete to talk about what's bothering them, or to make sure that you're there in those types of situations to where their athlete feels like they can talk about it. I feel like that's another big difference that I've seen of coming from straight from college to here, and realizing that, oh, I shouldn't be hurting all the time. Oh, I shouldn't be dead tired all the time. Like being able to see that difference. And now that I'm learning to listen to my body, AT is the most important thing that I've been around.
Do you have anything else to add to that too?
I mean, I appreciate all of you guys too. Like I said, you guys have supported me in just as much as I've supported you guys. Like, and I really appreciate all of you as well.
We love you.
What were the topics that you heard?
So,
I'm curious about this. This has been on the back of my mind throughout the whole.
I did overhear y'all talking about menstrual cycle, and then how that can play into performance, and that being kind of an extra barrier that you have to take into account, as far as like when you're peaking, when you might need to like take a deload week or take a little bit more time to recover. And so that's an interesting topic that I am always like kind of wanting to learn more about, so then that way I can assist any of my clients as best I can too, and kind of understanding those things and knowing, okay, this week maybe we need to perform differently, maybe we need to do exercises differently, versus another week where it's like, okay, we can just really like go for it, try to peak that week, really try to like, get after it. And so I would definitely want to give you guys the floor to talk about it, because that is something that I do not feel that I have enough knowledge about, and I want to learn from y'all today about that.
So for me, on like the research end of things, I do know that like when we're seeing changes in estrogen levels, then we see a little bit more laxity in the ligaments, and so that increases risk of injury. So that's like the extent of what I know, even working with pro female athletes. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a huge gap in the research that I think we really do need to focus in on more. There's just not enough information on it, and it's like this is a way that I could be helping even a team, right? Like if I can go to the coaches and be like, hey, a lot of them are on a cycle. Maybe we should be doing things this week versus this week. But then the other challenge becomes like, that becomes incredibly individual sometimes. So how do you do that with a team, right? So that's a really, really big challenge that I think like, that's a career challenge to kind of issue or like approach or like find a solution to. But I think it's a really fun one and a really interesting one. And I think it needs to be explored a lot more.
Shout out Sam Moore. She was a, I don't know. She was a student. She was getting her PhD while I was in college. And she was working with our sports scientists there. And her whole PhD was about women's athletics and like menstrual cycle and the effects of that. And so like, I was really grateful to just learn bits and pieces from her. There's still so much that I don't know, but like go check her out because she's super cool and super smart. But like I remember her explaining to me, and I feel like I'm gonna get it wrong now that I'm on the spot and like trying to share. But like like going into your period, there's a lot of things that you're like super low on, and it just like, and I don't even know how to explain that, but I just remember her saying that by the time you're done with your period, you're like on a ramp up and you're like performing like Superman. So it's like that's like when you're at your peak performance is at the end of your cycle, and like it like blew my mind. I was like, and I tried to pay attention to it, and like there's times that I can notice it and times I don't, but I just think that there's things like there's foods we should be eating at certain times in our periods, and there's to like help enhance like what we're going through, and there's just a lot of information that we don't know about that stuff, and like that I just can't even imagine how much that would impact our game and like our performance and recovery if we did know more about that. So yeah, it's great. Someone want to get on that.
I will also say that while you're on your cycle, like men don't have to deal with the mental aspect of like your body is literally fighting you while you're trying to push it to its best performance. So that's something that you have to be able to talk about. Like if you're not able to be at your best today because your body is fighting back at you right now, like you could have major cramps or just like heavy bleeding, and you just don't know what it's going to be during that cycle. So it's important to have someone that you can talk to. And a lot of coaches now, like in our league and just in the world, are men. So like you can't go up to a man and be like, hey, sorry, I'm bleeding a lot today, like I can't practice. Like that's not a conversation that you can have. So you need someone that you can be like, this is what's happening with my body, and I need you to be able to communicate that so that I can be effective today. And I think that's another reason why having an athletic trainer is important.
You know, I never thought about all this until we're talking about it right now. But now, since we're talking about it, it's clicking. There'll be some times, there's just a funny comment here. There'll be some times where, like when I was playing in college, and if I would have a bad game, my mom would text me and she'd be like, you must be on your cycle. I'm so serious. And I'm like, yeah, wait, how do you know? So yeah, I actually would love to learn more about this because that she actually would say that to me literally every single time I play bad.
I'm gonna start bringing like tips of the day to practice.
Yeah, do it.
What about just like feeling, like how you guys feel while you're on your cycle at practice or at a game? Like, do you guys feel different?
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Your body's different. You kind of have highs and lows, like depending on the day, but like you could show up and just be like exhausted. Like I've had days where I'm like, okay, like this is going to be a push, or if it happens to land on a game day, like it's tough, and it's just like an added layer that like we have all said, like we don't know about. Like there's not a lot of research on it, and it's like kind of been brought up in college. We had like fitness apps, and like there was a button that you could click on that, but like there was no knowledge on it, like nothing explained to us. So it's always been like just push through, like just so happen to be on this day. Like that's unfortunate if you're really not feeling well, your body's super fatigued, your mental is just kind of everywhere, like whatever it may be. But I think like more research on that would be extremely helpful to cater, especially like working out and lifting and kind of that schedule too, when we've all done just like in college lifting 2-3 times a week, maybe more, of just kind of the same things. And it's not like that also can line up with your cycle, and like the different days are super important. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. I think a lot of men too, they don't understand like how painful like our cramps can get. And I know that there's some women who like their cramps become worse whenever they do like exercise. And for me personally, since I am on a blood thinner, you know, that means that I'm gonna like I bleed easily and I bleed a lot more. So when it's that time of the month, I do bleed more than like I would like 3 years ago when I wasn't on this medication. So that is something that I like think about all the time, like when I'm playing or practicing, and I'm just like, I hope this isn't TMI, but I'm just like, I hope I'm not bleeding everywhere right now. Yeah.
That is a constant like thing in the back of the head, I think.
I will also say with the cramps, like I am fortunate enough not to have this issue, but I know I've had teammates that have had to go on certain types of birth control at a young age because they had cramps, and there's no research as to like how do we fight that while you on a game day. Like you just have to take a bunch of meds, and now you're on a bunch of meds and you're trying to perform, and like that could be bad for your body. So like because there's no research, it's just like, oh, we'll put this other thing in your body and we'll do this to you, but like no one's really trying to solve the issues that we have.
I went on birth control, and one of the side effects was blood clots, and I got blood clots in my hands from being on birth control to deal with these like things that we have. And so it's just, that was so unfortunate. I missed a whole spring season because I was put on blood thinners, and we didn't know what was going on, and had to solve an issue that shouldn't have even happened. I think the hardest part is we have no knowledge of like women's health in general because everything's done on men. So like even in athletics, like we have little to no information of women's health in general, and then when we try to pair that with athletics, it's just a whole storm of nothing. So research about that, not only with like we've talked about like putting on the same cycle as like working out, but like we just have no information in general. So even working with those things as a normal human, especially like the emotional mental aspects of being on your cycle, and then having to deal with the pressures of being an athlete, especially a professional, and having to deal with other people who are on the same wavelength as you, and on top of all the physical things that we've done. Like it's kind of just on top of one on top of the other. So
Just to like piggyback off of what you were saying, having all of the added stress of being a professional athlete and then just being a woman as well, how do you guys like deal with just coping with that amount of stress? Are there things that y'all like to do for yourselves? Are there things that y'all like to do together just to kind of help, bring that layer of stress down? Because once it's one thing and another, it can just start piling on. And then after that, you can spiral like pretty easily. I feel like a lot easier than people think. And y'all have a pretty tough schedule, and the stakes are pretty high. You're playing at a professional level. So do y'all mind touching on that a little bit?
yeah, I actually deal with a lot of mental health issues, which I have had to go throughout college with having no answers. My last year of college, I finally figured out that I'm bipolar. So like having to deal with a new medication on top of the stresses of being not only a student, but a student athlete, and then transitioning to be a professional. I don't have as much of the stressors as school or being around like my friends a lot. But feeling like I have nothing to do aside from my sport has made me feel like I've lost purpose. And so finding like everybody's different. Everybody's going to think that like reading is boring or walking is boring or nature's boring. Everybody has their own thing that they do, but I feel like finding that thing that helps you relieve that stress is so important. And it's not just like a once a month thing. It's have to be consistent, because otherwise it will pile on and you will spiral, especially as women. Kind of happens a lot. So like being able to find those things that like help us continue to stay calm, and like it's periodical. It's not once every so often.
I think it's so important to have a balance, like volleyball being our profession. Like we put so much time and so much effort into it that it's super important to have things outside of volleyball that you can de-stress and kind of build up your energy a bit, and just relax. And like Lauren said, we read, we go on hikes, we'll hang together a lot, play games, sit by the pool, just like finding the little moments throughout our day that are going to help us, get the energy mentally and physically to show up and be at our best the next day. So that's what I found later in college. Unfortunately, I wish I knew from freshman year, but just like, again, having that balance and making sure that you don't get super consumed in it, because I think it's easy, especially at this level, especially everyone being so competitive. So really finding that balance is important.
Yeah. For me, same thing. Like I wish I would have found this out a little earlier, but no time like the present, I guess. But just like some sort of daily practice, and just like we mentioned, like whatever works for that individual. So like whether that's walking or journaling or having a therapy session or prayer, meditation. So like some sort of like intentional time that you take to take care of yourself, and nobody knows that best than ourselves of how we need to take care of ourselves. So I think just some sort of like daily practice that you have like that intentional time where you're not only caring for your physical body, but your emotional and spiritual as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too, is just the being intentional, being intentional about it. And you kind of know the difference if you're like, I'm going to go for a walk today versus I'm going for a walk because I need to, because it's what I want to do for myself. And like when you have that intention, the walk is completely different. It's like recharging versus the walk that's just like, oh, I just went for a walk. And then I just
Got my steps.
Yeah, I got my steps in. And so I think that's a really good point, that being intentional is definitely a key component, I feel like, when it comes to trying to recharge yourself and like being able to at some point you got to pour into your teammates, you got to pour into your profession. And so being intentional about pouring into yourself, I think is really important. Yeah.
I think that's important across the team, to be honest. Like, I think that's so important for ATs, coaches, like we're all pouring into, like the team itself, and it gets a little bit hard too. But I think it's important to recognize that mental recovery should be just as much a part of your recovery as the physical parts of it. And like, that's one thing that I try to like work in when I'm doing treatments too. Like if I notice that there's just a lot of mental fatigue, I'm like, what's something positive that happened recently? I sneak that in there. And so I try to like just, refocus sometimes even, and because it is super, super important. And I think honestly, in my experience, it has been even more relevant with this team, like professional female athletes specifically, than most other populations that I've worked with. Like that mental recovery is huge. What else do you guys do for like that mental recovery?
Dogs.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I have a lot of hobbies outside of volleyball because I just can't I feel like I have split personalities. I'm that athlete and I also love the arts. Like I have started sewing my own clothes. I like to paint. I love photography. I love to read. It's just I need to be able to completely separate and do something completely different. Because if you let that become your whole life being performance based, it's just going to be a struggle all the time. So when you can do things that are just fun and for you, it like makes that transition and that recovery a lot easier.
Any others like things that you guys like to do, or anything that hasn't been said yet that you like to do for your own mental recovery or mental?
I put together flower bouquets because I think
Really? I didn't know that.
yeah, real. I'll bring you
Yes, our house is decorated in flowers.
I love
flowers
it.
everywhere.
That's
It's
so
actually really nice because it's
cool.
cute.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
I love that.
I think all throughout my high school college experience, I was just over obsessed with my sport, but I didn't see it as a problem because I love watching volleyball. I've watched men's and women's volleyball since I was like 13. My sister played in college, and so growing up and watching that, I saw it as an enjoyment thing. And so while I do play it as my sport and that is my performance base, it's what I get paid for, it's what I like love to do, I also love watching it and seeing like it grow and get better, and like seeing other people so I can add it to my repertoire. So as much as I do need separation from that, it's also something that I like find myself doing the most is watching film on other people.
Yeah, I will say there are times like when we are traveling a bunch, I'm like, I need a day. I don't want to think about volleyball. I just want to lay in bed and relax. And then there's other days like we'll still watch other games and we're still well connected in the volleyball world. But there's definitely days I'm like, nope, I'm not thinking about volleyball today. Like I need a mental thing for myself and just, again, being intentional and having a day for yourself.
So, question for y'all. After you're done playing volleyball, what are some things that y'all have thought about wanting to do after? Like, do you guys want to still like coach, or do you want to do something completely different? Does anyone want to be an athletic trainer? Like, okay.
I always ask her about things, and I'm always watching what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing that literally since college, watching them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Creepy. No. I graduated my degree with an economics major, so I would like to work for Disney.
Okay.
Shout out Disney. But I'm planning on being a mom. So I think kids would be scared of me coaching.
Maybe coaching.
Yeah, I want to coach too.
Tried coaching, it's not for me. I would love to take any of the hobbies that I have and like make it into a job, but I just
Yeah.
want to do this as long as I can, as long as my body will let me. I've tried the alternatives.
For me is also coaching.
Yeah.
What levels do you guys want to coach?
Only adults. I cannot teach the fundamentals. If I have to teach another kid how to put their arms together when they pass, I'm just put your arms together. It's really
Cam, I need some of that coaching.
I don't understand. I really don't understand. Yes, exactly. That might be mean, but that's why I don't need to be around kids.
Yeah, or if it's like really young kids, I've like found myself like saying super technical stuff and I'm like, this is too much. This is too much. So yeah, probably a higher level.
Yeah, I think high school and up,
Yeah.
but open to the youngins as well.
Patience for the youngins.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
It sounds like you guys have a good program going. Maybe like Carly starts them off
Yeah.
young, and then
yeah.
Mary comes in the middle, and then Cam.
There we go.
Done and done.
Funnel it up. You guys
Yeah.
interested?
I think that's the best way to go. Trying to find make businesses with your teammates. Everyone has so many talents. So that's all I want to do is like work with people who like want. We got a plethora of opportunities.
Charity's got the athletic training. I'll make the lunches.
Yes.
It'll be fine.
Sounds like we can make it maybe.
We got it.
summer
We're good.
Berkeley's
Yeah, Berkeley's got the photography. Berkeley's got photos.
Marketing. Yeah, we have everything.
Now, when this happens, let's go back to this video.
This is the origin. Our origin story.
Get a name, copyright it, you know,
Yeah.
get it all
Really
down.
We'll work on that.
Workshop it.
Yeah. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Y'all got to do it. Make it happen.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think coaching too is like you were saying, coaching the little kids and like saying stuff that's super technical. And then they all just look at you like this. And then you're like, just go run around.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's
That's how I feel
fine.
when Ariel tells me a technical thing. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
But I always ask.
But it's important.
I love asking.
I need them terms.
Translating languages.
What exactly is this doing to me right now? I'm just curious.
Shockwave therapy. What does that do?
Shockwave, yeah. What is that doing?
I catch myself doing that all the time. I'll say something to somebody and they look at me and I go, and this is what it means in like normal language. Yeah, I'm just like, it's this and this. And they go, oh, okay. I have to remember sometimes, like, no PT talk, just normal, normal terms.
Yeah.
What were
But it-
some, what
I
were
was
you
gonna say it goes both ways, y'all. Like when you guys say, the first time I walked in the court and there, you guys were like, we're peppering, and I said, great job. It's like, yeah, great job. And I said, you hold your arms like this. That looks great.
It's hard to explain.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you were 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
I need you to be a visual learner.
Watch me.
The funny thing is sometimes there is that one kid that just picks it up.
Yeah. That's the camp favorite kid.
Yeah.
That's the camp favorite where you go talk to their mom and you're like, this kid has to play volleyball.
It has to.
Because otherwise I'll be sad.
Yeah. It's so funny, like coaching, I coached 8th graders and then I coached high school for a little while, basketball, and seeing the difference between the kids that were kind of just like just running around and then the ones that are just like super locked in, and I'm like, wow, you could probably play whatever sport you choose to play. Like you're just like, you understand strategy, like you say something and they're just like, oh, okay, like this, and I'm like,
You got it?
yeah, just like that actually.
Yeah.
That's better than what I would have been able to do. So it's kind of fun doing that. And I think just educating, that's the part about coaching that I like. That's why I like PT too, though, is the education part of it. You know, I think it's pretty fun being able to do that. So it was cool hearing all y'all's answers. Yeah. What were some other topics that y'all were chatting about before we got on?
we were talking about other challenges that are like unique to women in sports that might come from your guys' like player perspective. So not necessarily the research perspective or treatment or anything like that, but like, what do you guys feel? It could be specific to volleyball. It could be specific to women's sports. Like,
there weren't shoes growing up. Like, there were no volleyball shoes growing up. There's barely some now. Like, we wear basketball shoes. So there's not like volleyball specific shoes that are actually built for comfort and for women in general, because basketball shoes are meant for men. So like, even within that aspect of like athletic gear and like training gear, like nothing is really specifically made for women.
I think Cam, you brought up a good one too.
Yeah. We in college, we used to wear vests that would monitor your movement and your jumps, and I think some of the devices can monitor like your heart rate and stuff like that, but the vests were made for men, and because so little women use them, like there weren't a lot of college teams that use them for their female athletes. The company, I won't say who they are, would not tailor them to women until like I think a couple months ago, they finally came out with one. And it was like, so for women, we had to wear a sports bra and then this other like bra, but it wasn't thick enough to be a bra. And then your jersey over that. Whereas like men wear it underneath their shirt and it's fine. It's like another t-shirt and then they wear their jersey and it's fine. But like we have to be uncomfortable because they don't want to produce more product for this small amount of people that are going to use it. So
I think one of the other things that I've seen too is like it's kind of a weird challenge. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in this. This is kind of like just my thoughts, but like the amount of time that goes into getting ready for even a game, right? Like that is tasking sometimes. Like if we just had 3 games last week, right? And it's like, so then you're adding in all that time to get ready because you have this kind of expectation that you have to look presentable in a certain way, and you're playing a sport. Like that's crazy, you know? Like I think that's a really kind of unique thing, especially with like being televised and like one of the, I don't want to say first sports to be televised, but like it's a weird thing that I watch you guys get to, and like it's like, well, I even tailor my treatment times around it. Sometimes it's like, I know they're not going to come see me an hour before we leave on that bus because everybody's getting ready. Everybody's like has something to do. So it's like weird, right? Like it's just a different kind of challenge.
I also want to say on top of that, there are certain like opportunities that aren't the same. Like there's a lot more marketing opportunities and NIL opportunities for men's athletics than there are for women. And there's a lot of like growth that's happened in women's athletics that I don't think we understand, that like sometimes we can just ask and like that opportunity is there. I feel like we're scared to ask because it's a men dominated field. And so tapping more into those opportunities and being able to be okay with like just asking, because what are they going to say no? Like you asked and then there's that opportunity there.
I will also say, going off of that, like an example with me, I'm a big car person. Like I love NASCAR, I love F1, like I love that stuff. And I've reached out to several brands that I know have partnered with guy athletes to give them cars or like have leasing deals or things like that. And I've reached out to them to say like, hey, I'm a female athlete and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, sorry, we don't want to work with you because your following isn't big enough, or like your platform isn't big enough, because like women, they think that women's athletics is not watched enough, or people are not looking at you. Whereas like they think that any male athlete, like it's people that are not even playing, and they're like, yeah, here, we'll give you this $150,000 car to drive around for 3 months. Like it's the opportunity. Like even if you ask for the opportunity, sometimes they're not given to you because people don't respect female athletes the way they respect males.
Can we also talk about how everybody was like shocked about how many viewers we had for the All-Star game? Like everybody was like, whoa, was that many people tuned in? And I was like, yeah, that more should be tuning in. Like, have you watched these girls play? Like, you know, it's just, but if it were any other All-Star game, you know what I mean? It's like, I think we almost hit 500,000, which is great for our first All-Star, but
Yeah.
like that was interesting.
Yeah. I think that there's definitely been a lot more like growth around women's sports, but it's not where it should be. I still think that there's a lot of growing that needs to be done. And I think that there's a lot of opportunities that should start being given, because that's just another way to help grow, right? But if opportunities are not being given, are being restricted, then it's just going to get in the way of growth. So I feel like there's definitely that component too, like you were mentioning before. It's like, I think some of these like companies and sponsors should be a little bit more willing to say like, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and sponsor you guys, or let's do this. Maybe it's not the exact same sponsorship deal, but at least like letting you guys get your foot in the door. That's just me looking from the outside in though. So I try not to say too much because I'm like, I feel like that's not my place, but like just based off of what you guys are telling me, it sounds like that's kind of the consensus too. What are some things that you feel like would be good ways to help with growth, and then just, I guess, educating more people on like, hey, women's sports are just as difficult, and we're playing just as hard as the men do as well. Like, what are some things that you guys would want to say or share with the audience?
I want to say that as much as there are sports, they're different. Male sports are different than female sports. And so like being able to appreciate male sports for what they do is great, but also being able to appreciate female sports for what they do is another thing. And so being able to see that difference and not making them the same because they're not, and being able to appreciate both for what they do separately is what's more important.
I would say too, like for volleyball, like just come watch a game. Come watch a game and see how entertaining this is. See how talented like these women are, and like just seeing how they can move and be so athletic on the court. I think it's insane. And so many people have said that. They're like, I went to one volleyball game and I've been to like every single one since, because it's that much fun. And I think volleyball also, like women's sports is growing, but volleyball I think is one of the most played, the most watched women's sport, which is amazing. So just seeing the recognition, whether it's with deals or NIL stuff, or like put us on ESPN, like broadcast that, because people are watching volleyball and people are watching women's sports.
Yeah, I think, and you touched on it, it's just like providing access to be able to view the matches. So whether that's online or in person. I know the league, like a big like push that they had was to make games accessible. And so like ticket prices, like concession prices, parking, everything was kind of taken into account so it could be more accessible to just grow the sport. And then same thing, our matches are streamed on YouTube, which everybody can go online and go to YouTube and stream them. But they're trying to push national channels as well. So I think just increasing access is just going to keep everything growing.
I think another thing that I've actually talked to my mom about this, because she brought it up to me, like volleyball doesn't have a big brother like the WNBA has the NBA. So like they can say like, oh my God, look at this female athlete, she's doing this. So I think as much as we don't want men to be involved and we want them to do their own thing, like it's important to have male athletes that are respecting us and they can say like, hey, you need to go out and watch volleyball because it's important and because they're good. Like they're female athletes that are killing the game and they're special. So
I also think another argument people might have is like, oh, it's not as entertaining to watch because women aren't as like feisty. If you watch anybody play volleyball, you'll see how
do not know these players.
feisty and like up in your face they can get, and like the shit talking, like it's there because we have passion for our sport, and it's not, you're not watching paint dry, you know, it's not boring. There's a lot of things that you can pay attention to. There's so much to learn, especially if you don't know about the game. There's so much to appreciate about the growth of the athletes and where they come from, or the trials that they've gone through, and like a personal level, and being able to see where they are now. Like there's so much you can learn about the sport. It's not just about watching one aspect of it.
What are some things that you think are going well in women's sports, like you wouldn't change?
There's a professional league in the US. 2. Almost 3.
I think just that access is like continuing to grow every day, month, year. Yeah.
There's a lot of support within the community as well. Like in the communities of where each team is at, there's support from like specific women's things. Like we have a thing with dry bar, so like we get our hair done. We have like manicures that we can get. Like there's women specific things like that, but there's also support within like clothing brands and like food places. Like there's a lot of support within communities that we can just go anywhere and they know who we are.
I will also say that women are getting the ability to be themselves. Like I know like Angel Reese became who she is because she was herself on the court, and she didn't have to be this like fairy and cutesy princess and like, oh, I'm so nice to everyone because I'm a girl. Like you can be strong and you can be a badass and still be televised. So I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Were there any other like specific points that you guys wanted to go over, or anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to share or talk about?
Come watch a game.
Yes. Yes. YouTube.
YouTube, Roku, CBS.
Yes.
Thank y'all for coming on today. I appreciate it. I learned a lot, and so it was nice to have the panel. And so thank you everyone for tuning in today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we will be coming back to you next week with another topic. But like Barron says, we don't know what it's going to be. We're not sure how long it's going to be, and it's probably going to just depend. All right, take care, you guys.